It was a dark and stormy night. There was a storyteller. Hello, my name is Debra Borg. I am a storyteller, and this is my story. Storytelling is an ancient tradition that dates back thousands of years, and it's found in many cultures and countries. There are pictures and writings in caves. All countries, all cultures have oral traditions with stories that entertain and teach lessons about life, death, family, and celebrations. They are an important part of the social structure of many people, the Native Americans, for example, in keeping traditions alive. These stories give us hope, encouragement, comfort the grieving, and teach us to make good choices for the betterment of ourselves and the betterment of all mankind. These are the stories that we want to teach our children so that they can one day pass it on to the next generation. My own parents were great storytellers. Growing up, they taught me stories of tolerance and accepting people for their differences. Not just with their words, but with how they treated people and their actions. My father had a couple of friends. Their names were Pepe and Louie, and they used to come to our house all the time. Pepe used to color pictures in our coloring books. He was an artist. I remember asking my mom one time why Pepe and Louie held hands so much, and she told me that they loved each other, and that was the way they showed it. I learned many years later that they were partners and what that meant. My parents taught me to accept people for who they were and that it was okay to be different. It was storytelling without words, but by watching and observing them. Throughout history, there have been storytellers who were able to present a story so powerfully, so real, that you feel you have actually experienced it. These storytellers have a profound effect on the listener, making them believe they are truth and then act on them. These stories change lives and have an effect on ourselves, our society, and especially on our children. One such storyteller, a very charismatic storyteller, told stories about one particular group of people in the 1940s. These were stories of hate and of untruths, and of how one group was inferior and needed to be eliminated. These stories led to war, to persecution, and to the annihilation of millions of people, men, women, and children, in gas chambers and firing squads. There are storytellers who perpetuate hate against a person because of their race, their culture, their beliefs, and their politics. They say that because you don't speak the language or because your skin is a different color, that you need to leave the country or you can't live in a certain area because you do not fit in. When I was young, about 5 or 6 years old, I was outside playing when the garbage man came. He got out of his truck and I started up a conversation with him, the typical things that a young child might ask. But I remember asking him about the color of his skin. You see, he was black. He answered my questions very cautiously. When my mother came to the door, he stood back and said, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing my job." My mom said, "It's okay. She talks to everyone. Debbie, come away. Let him do his work." The garbage man reacted as he did because of the stories that he was told that spoke about how to treat a person based on the color of their skin. We still have these stories today in the news, in newspapers, on social web. There are storytellers who say that one race, one culture, one spiritual or religious belief is better than another. They can speak so loudly that theirs is the only voice to be heard. Radical groups and leaders say that their nation is better than another, and that if you do not share their belief, you should be attacked. Tuesday morning started out like any other morning. I turned on the TV to catch the weather report before I went to the child care center for work. There was a story on the news, something about an explosion or a fire in one of the World Trade Center towers. I still had time to get to work, so I decided to watch. As I was watching, a plane flew into the second tower and exploded. I fell to my knees in the middle of the living room, and time stopped. After a while, I realized I had to get to work. When I arrived at work, we were told we were not to talk to anybody about what was happening, not each other, and certainly not to the children. And we were not to show any emotion. I went to drop off my things in the classroom. The children were all playing, oblivious to what was going on. The teachers barely looked at each other. A short time afterwards, I had to pass the staff lounge. They had the TV on in there, and when I looked in, I witnessed the first tower collapse. Some of our children had parents and family members that worked in the World Trade Center and near it. On Wednesday, the administration said that we should all go out to the flagpole, sing the national anthem, and observe a moment of silence. So we all gathered there with the children, and we sang. And as we sang, the children, toddlers on up, stood still and silent. When we went out to the playground later on, the children came up and asked, "Where are the planes?" And they wanted to know if the school was going to fall down on them. They had heard the story. In governments around the world, including our own at times, we are told that there is only one way to think and act, and that any opposing party or any other view offered is wrong. We are told that they know what is best for us and that we should follow blindly, without question. These stories have a profound effect on how governments are run, how democracies are formed and threatened, and influence the way people think and act. Are you listening to your own stories that you're sharing with the world? Are you living a story that society or someone else has told you? Your words, your actions have an effect on everyone you meet. And what are the stories that our children are listening to? What are the stories that you are telling them to help them to learn, to grow, to succeed? What are the stories that our children are going to pass down to the next generation? Children listen to every word. They see every facial expression, and they hear every emotion in your voice. Children soak up stories like a dry sponge soaks up water. And what are the stories that you're going to tell yourselves from this point forward? Are they going to be about tearing yourself down? About hatred for another based on their culture, their race, their beliefs? Or will they be stories of perseverance, encouragement, accepting and helping others, and of creating a better world for all of mankind? My friends, you are the storytellers, and your story matters. To be a storyteller, you do not need to speak. You do not need to give talks in front of people. To be a storyteller, you simply need to be a living example to others. Be careful and diligent about the stories you listen to and the ones you tell. Maria Robinson said, "No one can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start now and make a new ending." Change your stories now. So let's start the story today, and then you can decide the ending. Ready? Once upon a time, on a bright and sunny day, there was a storyteller. Thank you.